Hey there, today I'm going to be doing my first tier list video in over a year. Starting with the two threats, and I'm going to be joined by Sandbox Sean to talk about where we land on these 9 different characters. But before I get into our rankings, there are 2 things I want to address first. First is how we are using the S2D scaling. To me, S tier characters are characters that are too good. Characters that likely need to be toned down in some way or another if AMG is ever going to do another rebalancing. A tier characters are characters that are strong enough to be easily splashed or always see play in their affiliated homes, but don't really need to see any balance changes. B tier are solid characters that will see affiliated play or can see some splash play where there are synergies with particular leadership abilities. But really the characters in this range are in a good spot and don't need any changes, in my opinion at least. C tier is for characters who have reasonable play in one spot because of a very specific role or job. Characters here probably just need like one minor tweak to be brought up into the ranks of an A or B. Minor in the sense of Iron Man's Friday AI costing 2 power instead of 3 kind of small. Then D tier is for characters that don't see the table that often and are mostly often seen in narrative-styled games or maybe a meme list. Now, that said, the gap from A to D isn't a crazy gap, and a character we list as a D can absolutely come into a game and do as much, if not more work than an A tier any given game. But not as reliably, and I wouldn't mind seeing the characters that are in the D tier get a couple of tune-ups to have an argument to see the table more often. The second thing I want to address is that, yes, I know that tier lists are not everybody's favorite form of content. They don't require much time on my end of things for setup or editing. They are full of just opinions that you by no means have to agree with. They are lazy and show no creativity, but hear me out. These are a great reason to also bring in other great community members to get their thoughts on different characters' values and what they bring to the table. They're also just kind of fun to make. They are easy to produce when also editing podcasts and other videos that come out weekly. And while divisive, they're pretty consistently some of the most popular content in the gaming world as a whole. So if this content isn't for you, I 100% understand. Leave a comment down below about what kind of content you are looking for, and I can either point you towards some of my previous works, whether that's video or podcast, that fit that niche you were looking for, or I can point you towards someone else in the community who covers what you were looking for. But please be respectful, because even if it isn't for you, at least recognize that there are thousands of other people who do enjoy these. So with that said, my name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. Alright guys, so you know my thoughts on tier lists, but at the end of the day, they're still fun, so we're still going to do it. And I am joined by Sean, or Sandbox, as many other people might know you.
Hey, thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Man, I'm excited to get you on and just kind of run through this. There aren't really a lot of two threats. This is going to be a quicker tier list video because again, there's just not much. And it's like, oh yeah, you can just lump them in with the threes, but like there's way too many threes, so it doesn't work out. But I think there's at least maybe 2 in here that I'm going to rank in a way that probably surprises people.
Okay. Intrigued.
Also, and do you think you have any hot takes on these 9?
A little bit. One in particular. We'll see.
Let's just go in order from what we have here, starting with Corbox Black Widow. What are your thoughts on where she lands from S to D?
So, to me, she's very middle of the road.
Hmm.
I think some of her big values really comes in where she lands in affiliations.
Hmm.
Um, the long move with stealth is wonderful. Along with martial artists, you have to be in that sweet spot to hit her between the 3 but not quite 2 to really like get her down very consistently.
Hmm.
Um, Outside of that, though, she doesn't really pack a punch. She has like the elusive on mixed technique if she needs it. Slight power drain. Other than that, though, very just objective grabber, runner back, or sit on a point that nobody else is really around. She plays that role exceptionally well.
Yeah, having two places that I guess three places that she's affiliated is something that's really nice with Shield, A Force, and Avengers.
Hmm.
And she fits a very particular role very well, probably better than any other two threat does in the game at the moment. And so just kind of for that uniqueness, she gets probably a B from me, as well as I'm guessing you, since you said middle of the road.
Correct.
Cool. I think if there were somebody else that also was a long mover and had maybe some sort of shenanigans for getting out of danger pretty well, like parting shot or something, maybe that would trump her or something. But as it stands, she's the only one who kind of specializes in this style of play at two threat. I guess there's Toad, but Toad's going to probably end up higher, so that's not a huge shocker there.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get to that.
Yeah. Next up is all the first three are all ladies. So Okoye, who used to be like up here.
Oh yeah, how the mighty have fallen.
Indeed. I definitely think she's below B tier at this point. I think AMG may have gone a little bit hard on the nerf bat on her. Understandable, because she was like every single list. Uh, I'm gonna leave her at C. What are you feeling? Can we knock her down all the way to D justifiably, or?
No, I think C's fine. She still has niche play. Her biggest issue is that the fact that Spear Blast doesn't give her any power.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a bodyguard. Like that is her role. And they took that away in the early game. But I
Yeah.
still think C's okay. She's still a viable character.
Yeah, I definitely think that she has meaningful play as a two threat. She's not like a meme character, and so with that, I think that she deserves at least a C rating, where D might be for characters that are almost a meme if you're putting them in your list at this point.
Right. If you're gonna play her in affiliation, or if you just absolutely need like a bodyguard at real cheap, you can go with her. Other than that, I wouldn't be rocking her.
Yeah, I've actually played against somebody who used her very well. She was bodyguarding a Hulk in an Avengers list, and I had Iron Fist and Black Cat who were there to like on standby either activate or stagger Hulk, and neither of them ever got to do that because Okoye was always in the way.
Oh yeah. She still, if she has the power, she'll still be there and just be a menace.
Absolutely. And then we have Nebula. Uh, I'll be honest, I've not played a game with Nebula. And so I don't have very strong opinions. I feel like it's either a B or a C. Do you have any more experience with her to kind of put her in a particular spot, one over the other?
I've played my fair share with her. I would actually go B, a solid B.
Okay.
Um, she obviously biggest weakness outlier is cannot play objective games, and this is a objective based game.
Hmm.
What she does do is kill anyone playing the objective based game. So, and she does it relatively well. She punches definitely higher than her weight class of two threat. She punches more like a three, sometimes closer to a four threat at times, depending.
Yeah, and being able to apply some pretty nasty status conditions as a two threat as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Shock is nothing to sneeze at. Stun is very good. In also the healing part of her, and with the assassin part, is huge. All those rerolls is insane. And then she's crazily enough immune to bleed, poison, and stun.
Yay, robots.
Robots indeed.
Cool. I feel like with that, you have to know going in that there is that significant downside of having a two threat that's just not able to do anything with objective stuff. Kind of like the opposite of Black Widow, where Black Widow was there only for the objective based stuff, not really there for the killing. Nebula is kind of the inverse of that.
Correct. Yep. If you are playing a roster and you want to just try to dice your person or opponent off the table, great two threat to add in.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel Rocket also probably belongs in the B tier.
Yes, also agreed. Obviously, playing him with Groot and Guardians like that, he is arguably even close to like low A, but
Hmm.
outside of that, B for sure. Just great 5 range attack. Has the booby traps. Obviously, as a if he has Groot with him, personal bodyguard. Can't take damage from collisions.
Like at all. It's still just ridiculously bonkers broken, and I hate it.
I know, right? Like characters, I understand, but why also terrain?
Because just like if a car gets thrown at him, I just it's assume that he like finds a nook or cranny to hide in when the car like rolls over him or something, I guess.
Sure, yeah, you got me.
But yeah, then also guaranteed cover, which is basically a guaranteed block. Uh, this rodent has taken far more effort to daze or KO every single time I play against him than it realistically should, given that
Yeah,
he has like 3 stamina.
correct. Yeah, I was just about to mention that. Him just having 3 stamina, you would just think, like, oh yeah, no, I got this. He's gone. But you just got to think he's always blocking one, unless you just get super unlucky and roll 2 skulls.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's like one of those things where it's like you either need to spike or you're only chipping in for one, and that's not going to get the job done.
Yep.
Cool. And then we have the newly named Wongers.
Hey, Wongers.
Wongers with his BFF Madison. So are we thinking C or D for Wong?
Man, so it's kind of the same thing I mentioned with Rocket in my mind.
Hmm.
But I would probably say overall a D.
Okay.
Obviously, saying going with paired with Doctor Strange, he's could I can see arguments for going up to C just because he adds that assistance. But outside of that, like on paper, back then I know people were very excited for him. I was starting the game whenever he had come out for not that long, and
Hmm.
people were excited for him. They're like, "Oh yeah, first support character, he's going to be great." And he did not hold up to what people were wanting and expecting.
Yeah, that is certainly true. I know that before his release, I had wildly speculated him as like a solid like A tier support, and I think that was mostly us still just coming off the high of how good Shuri was, and we attributed a lot of that to her support quality with the rerolls, and probably not enough to the fact that she also had 2 guaranteed pushes on any given activation of hers.
Yeah, that can definitely do it.
Yeah, that turns out positioning in this game is very good. Uh, yeah, I think I have to agree. I think Wong is a little bit down here at the bottom. I think there are certain lists where he can still kind of help, but really at the end of the day, it's almost more in a meme way where like you're pairing him with a Malekith or a Dormammu, removing some status conditions, maybe a little bit of healing, but really probably your 2 threat is going to be spent better into upgrading into other characters or just getting a Toad, Bullseye, or even Rocket onto the table to maximize a board presence rather than having your 7 or 8 threat character being supported by another 2 threat.
Yes, I mean, if the only time I would play him is if I'm in an affiliation that he's affiliated with, and I absolutely need a 2 that's
Hmm.
affiliated, and that affiliation doesn't have another. So that would be, I think, just Midnight Suns, because I want to say it doesn't. Defenders have another 2 threat already affiliated. I'm not
I
sure
don't
on that.
think so. Looking at the twos that we have to pick from, I don't think any of them are affiliated with defenders aside from
Okay.
him.
Okay. Then yeah. So either Defenders or Midnight Suns, I would, if I had to have one that is affiliated, Wong would be it, but
Yeah,
I'm not playing him anywhere else.
that's fair. And here we go from the bottom of this tier list to probably the top. And starting with Bullseye, I'm going to throw him an A pretty solidly.
Yes, I agree on this.
Yeah, it's almost like a 3 threat character that was really not great, got downgraded to a 2 threat, and he plays really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do, come to find out, was just knock off some stamina, reduce a defensive stat, and here you go. Here's your new two threat.
Yep. But really, it's such a great fit for Bullseye at two threat. He sees a ton of affiliated play, both for Cabal and Criminal Syndicate, which was absolutely nasty when he first released or re-released as a two threat, or the update happened, however you want to phrase it, and does some absolute work as just the guaranteed point or two of damage a turn that you need sometimes.
Absolutely does. Yes, he offers so much to the table with like a attrition based list, or just in affiliation in general. He's great at just sitting on a back point, range 4, just kind of plinking away at whoever he needs to. And thanks to I Never Miss, always guaranteed to get 1 damage through.
Except on Thanos.
Yeah,
Jerk.
fair enough. I know, big jerk.
Yeah, but really wonderful character. I know I used him in Avengers because the one power hit and run is fantastic, as well as just having an extra source of consistent damage is really good to have. And then we have what I think is another A tier character in Toad.
Oh yeah, I can see some argument from some saying he would potentially be S, but I don't. When you have other S tier characters in this game that just like blow what Toad does out of the water, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, in my mind, we can really put him there. But super high A, even if you were doing just a full breakdown of just like of a tier list, he is crazy good at what he does. You think Black Widow can play the like objective game well? Toad is awesome at it.
Yeah, Toad just kind of levels it up a little bit. Doesn't have stealth, but has additional tools to get out of dodge when he's attacked. The 5 stamina on the front side makes him surprisingly a good bit more durable. Has the hop for additional form of movement. Can imply incinerate with his inspender. So even if it turns into a more attrition-based battle, if your opponent's not willing to waste an action or two to deal with Toad, he does at least get to go around and possibly reposition somebody with his tongue lash or give out the incinerate condition.
Yep, absolutely. He packs a decent punch, and can contribute that incinerate, like you mentioned, to have your other characters also just go into that character, that opponent. Also, him being able to interact within range 2 instead of
Mm-hmm.
range 1 is huge.
Yeah, Toad has a lot of things going for him at the end of the day, in my opinion, and I am not shocked by his presence on the at him getting just kind of as the game has progressed, him being seen higher and higher in the eyes of the community.
Absolutely.
And so now we've only got 2 left, and they're 2 of the more interesting choices, in my opinion. And this is the one that I think people will be a little bit surprised at because I think prior to like even just a month or two ago, Bob was a C or even D character himself. He used to have legs with the Sam Vengers list before Sam got errated to a enemy effect dazing an allied character. So it used to be that Bob could shoot off his rocket and you would get to proc Sam's leadership on your own terms.
Hmm.
No longer the case, unfortunately. But new affiliation, Hydra, doesn't really care about Strucker, but getting additional power for just holding an objective or sitting on a point is exactly what Bob wants. And so I'm going to put him in at B for now.
Okay. Okay. I hadn't really thought about that much, but now that you mention it, yeah, him being able just to sit on a point, he's getting an extra power. Um, so potentially later, if the game's dragging on to like your deeper rounds, round 5 going to round 6, he could get another rocket. I can, yeah, okay. You know what? I'll buy in. I'll buy in. I'll still say a lower end of the B, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm down for B tier.
Yeah. And something I didn't say with Toad, I do think Toad is like the quote unquote best two threat, but still doesn't quite break it into the S rank of what S does to the game. kind
Yes,
of a thing where like the character is really good, but doesn't really need nerfs either, in my opinion, kind of a thing.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
Yeah.
S tier isn't really a spot that you want a character to be in because
Hmm.
that means they probably need something toned down.
Absolutely. Exactly. Uh, so Bob B, if you're playing him out of affiliation, probably bring back down to the D, kind of more of a meme thing, like skip over C. But I think he's going to have some really nice legs with the new Red Skull, having another cheap body to hold a back point, especially on a B where you can like split the Hydra grunts on one side, Bob on the other side. And especially since Hydra's probably going to be playing these power generating things like cosmic cubes or infinity formula, where Bob will just be sapping up the power super quick. I think he'll be a lot of fun.
I can see that. Yeah. Funny enough, I like the idea that because of his but how power, where he loses power for being dazed, but if he hasn't activated, he doesn't KO.
Hmm.
It's going to force your opponent to actually attack into Bob since he's gaining that extra power because they're going to be like, well, I don't want him to get the power to get another rocket and shoot it at me. Like, I'm going to have to daze him to make him lose three.
And then finally, we have the Honey Badger, who is kind of the up close and personal version of Okoye.
Yes, absolutely. I like her a lot. I think kind of the same thing as Bob. I've seen people be down on her a bit and maybe say she's less of a D, but more of like C tier.
Hmm.
I actually prefer her in B. I actually had a conversation with some people in Discord the other day. Her in Shield is very appealing.
Mm.
With her having too dangerous to ignore, you actually want bodyguards because you're playing a list of just pretty much a gun line. And then with Ankle Biter, her being within range one of characters, reducing their defensive dice by an additional one, and you're already usually applying Incinerate by one shape or form,
Hmm.
um, can whittle down your opponent a lot faster thanks to her just being in the fray.
Yeah. Uh, so honestly, I think the only thing that's keeping her from A tier for me is her inability to interact with objectives.
Yeah, very similar to Nebula. And I can kind of say that in the same vein for Nebula too. If Nebula
Hmm.
could interact with the objectives, I think she would be A alongside
Oh,
Bullseye and Toad too.
goodness, yeah. Nebula would be absolutely insane without that. I
Yeah,
think Honey Badger would be at a more fair kind of a level, but she also does have the tactic card, Jonathan, which lets her bring in her pet basically to hold on to a secure objective as long as nobody else comes into range of it.
indeed she does. I've not had the pleasure of playing that card, but I am very familiar with it from some locals.
I think it's one that maybe on the right setups or the right teams, it's something that you might be worth bringing in your 10, but unless you kind of have a plan for it, it's probably better left to be left at home unless you're kind of looking for some just kind of casual narrative based fun shenanigans with them.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. And I don't really like, after looking over it, I don't think there's any changes to necessarily be made here. I feel like Toad and Bullseye are definitely the standout two threats that we currently have. Uh, Black Widow maybe could go down to C, but having a two threat affiliated choice for uh, pretty much any of those places, Avengers, Shield, and A Force, where that is welcome in all of those, is really nice. Nebula and Rocket are just fantastic damage dealers. It doesn't matter what affiliation you are. Bob, affiliation matters, but I think that combo is going to be really strong. Honey Badger, the bodyguard effect is super powerful in the game. Being able to do it with a two threat is even better. And once she's up close and personal, ankle biter comes into play, and it can stack with incinerate, which could be especially gross. So all those feel right. You feel good about the A and Bs?
Absolutely do. Yes. highly agree too with what you mentioned with Black Widow specifically about I think her affiliations is what saves her from going down to C.
Hmm.
Um, or being just at the bottom of B for that matter. Her being in the most played affiliation of Avengers in the game is huge, along with an up and like rising affiliation of Shield starting to catch some attention, and a lot of people just jumping into that affiliation too. Definitely kind of rockets her to higher B in my opinion.
Yeah. And then C and D, thankfully, not very many characters here, which is a good thing. Okoye, just man, literally all she needs is power on here. Her spear thrust, is that what it is?
Vibranium Spear Blast.
It's blast, right? I think that's literally all she needs, and she would easily be back in the AB territory. Uh, but without it, she struggles. Has pretty good play in A Force, but that's really about it, in my opinion, for most of the time that you want to see her on the table.
Yep, I think C is firmly where she should be, and uh, which is fortunate slash unfortunate.
Yeah. You know what? With that, I'm going to be fair. Bob needs to drop. I'm only excited about him in one affiliation where he's going to see play. It'll be good play, like Okoye has good play in A Force, but that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just do like the called shot though. I can definitely see where you're coming from with him and New Red Skull.
There's
Uh,
some excitement there. That's maybe like I'm looking at Okoye and I'm like, okay, cool. Like only really want to see her in one spot. The same's true to Bob. Got to be fair. Yeah,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Black Widow's of course kind of in the similar vein, but she has multiple, whereas these kind of only have like one maybe two spots.
and then we have Wong, unfortunately, sitting at the bottom. Uh, thankfully, not. It's not necessary that somebody has to be in the D tier, but I do think that Wong is in the D tier.
Yeah, him not having some sort of ranged attack to contribute with, only having strike, I think is his major flaw. If
Yeah,
you want my 2 cents, having a support too is great. What he does it well, but him not being able to contribute to the fight on top of that is a huge downer.
yeah, and being very weak if he's not next to very specifically the Defender's leader, Doctor Strange, is also unfortunate.
It is indeed.
All righty, man. Well, that is all the time we have for this tier list. Thank you all for watching. We've got over the next few weeks, we'll continue to come out with the 3-4. We will continue to come out with the 3 threat, the 4 threat, the 5 threat, and the 6+ threat tier lists on Mondays. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.